Hello guys, I'm Tony and today I'll be showing you how to divide a mesh with multiple LOD levels. I'll be using the Triangle Separator 2, a tool available on the Unity Asset Store. You can find links to the package and the model used in the video in the description. The first step is to set up the LOD separation handler component. I've already added a component to a previously empty game object, so let's take a closer look at the component. The LOD data list contains all the LOD levels you wish to divide and later combine into LOD groups. Element 0 represents the 0th LOD level, element 1 the first, and so on. Let's go through each of the 3 LOD levels. Here's the 0 LOD level. It's a very detailed mesh with over 2.5 million triangles. And here's the first LOD level, a very detailed mesh still. The second LOD level is the simplest mesh with around 250,000 triangles. The original mesh was downloaded from Sketchfab. Shout out to Cyark, OpenHeritage 3D and Agisoft for providing the model. I used the downloaded mesh as the 0th LOD level. I then imported the mesh into Blender and used the decimate modifier to reduce the number of triangles of the mesh while still keeping its original form. Now, let's take a look at the culling percentage property of the LOD separation handler component. This property defines the minimum height of a LOD group renderer can have before it is culled. Here it's set to 0.1, so if the height of the second LOD level mesh is less than 10% of the screen height, then it is not rendered. More on this later. I'll turn on the gizmos so you can see the preview of the mesh about to be divided. This preview is drawn by the LOD separation handler component. The mesh preview, marked in white, shows the second LOD level mesh. You can adjust the number of divisions per axis in the division settings. Let's change up these values to see the effect. As we change the number of divisions per axis, the number of white lines that represent the division borders changes. Now let's go back to the 3 divisions per axis. Now we can divide the mesh. Let's take a closer look at the generated meshes. You can see that the original mesh was divided into rectangular sections based on the division borders painted in white. Each section contains 3 meshes that represent each LOD level. You can see how the LOD group works when the camera zooms out. The section is culled when its height takes up less than 10% of the screen. This is because the culling percentage property of the LOD separation handler component was set to 0.1. We can take a look at the generated meshes. Notice that the mesh referenced by the mesh filter component has no name. This is because the mesh is only stored in the computer's memory. To store the generated meshes as assets, select the generated root object and go to Triangle Separator, Save as Asset. Select the folder where you want to save the mesh assets. Now select the folder where you want to store the root object prefab. Note that this step is optional. If you don't need the prefab, just press Cancel to close the window. In this case, I'll save the prefab as well. The root object is now a prefab, and if we look at the mesh filter components of its child objects, the meshes now reference the newly created mesh assets. That's all. Thank you for watching and see you guys next time. This video is brought to you by Galaxy Beyond Dreams of Youth, available now on Amazon on Kindle, paperback and hardcover.